This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Queenpin 2.0, bonus episode 2. When we left off, Selima was running down the list of reasons why she believed she and Wise would not make a good couple. And the Queen Mother was playing Cupid. Instead of shooting Selima's heart, she was shooting down those excuses. Our trip down memory lane revealed just what Pop Sandy said that left Donovan in shambles and everyone else's heart full. At the round table, the Queen Mother looked at Selima and said, "Before you choose your own will over what very well may be God's will, there's some additional information that you may want to consider. Go in the hall and tell Tru and Woody to come back inside." When Tru and Woody returned, the Queen Mother asked Tru, "So how did you end up back in Venezuela several times after your initial meeting with little Jose?" Tru said, "Over the next few weeks, we were communicating via Messenger and FaceTime, and it didn't take long before he invited me to come back and visit him in Venezuela. I told him that I didn't really feel comfortable traveling alone since I didn't really know him that well, and he agreed to pay for me and a friend to come to Venezuela 4.5 months earlier." Selima called in Nikki, one of the finishers that worked with her and Tru on that job in the Dominican Republic. Nikki and Tru traveled from Dallas to Venezuela together. As agreed, Lil Jose arranged a driver for them and put them up in a swanky hotel. He was there to greet them at the airport and escorted them to the hotel. Once they were checked in, he took them to grab a bite to eat and then took them to blow a bag in the mall. When they were done shopping, Lil Jose had the driver drop him off at one of his spots and return the ladies to their hotel, where they unpacked, showered, changed, and took a nap in preparation for their night on the town with Jose and his friends. Later that night, Lil Jose returned with his closest friend, his friend's girlfriend, and one of his generals for Nikki. The three couples had the time of their lives, and when the night was drawing to a close, and Lil Jose suggested that they all go back to his place and continue the party, Tru took him to the side and said, "I think it's important that I remind you of what we discussed when I agreed to come here and visit you. I appreciate you footing the bill for our travel, our accommodations, our shopping spree today, and our evening out together. But I'm not for sale, and I won't be exchanging my body for your generosity. I don't know how many other women you're entertaining, and frankly, that's not any of my business. But I'm not the kind of woman you add to a roster, and we haven't known each other long enough, nor do we know each other well enough for me to expect to be the only member on your team. So no, me and my girl will not be going back to your place tonight. And if that's a deal breaker for you, we can go back to the mall tomorrow and return all of the items that you purchased. And then we can head to the airport and go back home. I'll pay the difference in the price of the ticket to change our flights. In a couple of weeks when I get paid, I'll send you your money back for the flight and hotel." Lil Jose said, "You finished?" Tru said, "Yes." Lil Jose said, "I didn't ask you to sleep with me. I understood your position when you explained it to me. There's no need for you to reiterate it or to threaten to go home. I'm a generous man. I got money to blow. You ain't even put a dent in my pocket. Now, if you want to go home, you can go home. But it shouldn't be because you feel pressured by me. Because ain't no pressure, baby." Tru said, "Okay. But we're still going back to the hotel." Lil Jose called the driver that was assigned to Tru and Nikki, and when he arrived, he rode with them back to their hotel, made sure that they got inside and back to their room safely, and headed to his house. Nikki said, "I thought the point was for you to get him to take you back to as many of his spots as possible so that we could bug them. I don't understand." Tru said, "Girl, you don't never want to look too eager. I got this man thinking that I'm innocent and shy. What innocent and shy woman do you know who's going with two other couples back to a man's private residence at 3 o'clock in the morning when she has no plans to give it up? Before we leave here, we're going to go a whole lot of places and we'll have a whole lot of opportunities to plant those bugs. He gonna have to do a whole lot more than a little shopping spree, some meals, and club hopping to get me at his house. And even when he does, I'm still not giving it up. Nikki said, okay, girl, this your show. I'm just along for the ride. Over the next few days, Tru proved that she was about that life. And she put all of the tips and tricks that Selima gave her about how best to get Lil Jose wrapped around her finger to good use. During their period of surveillance, they found out the locations of many of the properties owned by Lil Jose and his family, the places that he was known to frequent, and the locations of the legitimate businesses that they operated. So they made it a point to ask Little Jose to show them his home country, to take them to all of the places that made Venezuela wonderful. And Tru said, show me what's important to you. And Jose, being the kind of man who valued things more than he valued people, took Tru and Nikki to his homes, showed them his art, his cars, his businesses, and his family. And by their last night in Venezuela, Tru and Nikki had successfully placed 11 or 12 bugs at 5 or 6 different locations, plus several in the vehicles that Jose had at his disposal and used often. And all of them were online and providing information to the computers at the safe house that were being monitored by Selima and the rest of the surveillance team. They'd even managed to place a bug in the dining room of the main house owned by Big Jose. Tru was able to string Lil Jose along with claims that she had to work a full-time job, and it would take at least a month before she would build up enough PTO to make another trip to Venezuela over a long weekend. On her third visit to Venezuela, Tru traveled alone. But once again, there was an understanding. She needed more time, more information, and a stronger and deeper connection before she'd be willing to share her prize with Lil Jose. While this was all a new world for Tru, she was dealing with a very interesting set of circumstances. Here she was carrying on a pretend relationship with a Mark while building a real relationship with Big Wood. And he'd shown himself to be extremely secure. He never questioned her about her interactions with Lil Jose, didn't pressure her to share any details surrounding her visits to Venezuela, and had no negative reactions when she responded to Lil Jose's texts, answered his calls, or made calls of her own in his presence. He even dropped her off at the airport before she left for her third visit. On the ride, Tru asked, so you don't feel no kind of way about me pretending to be romantically involved with this dude? Big Wood asked, should I? Are you expecting me to be jealous, or do you want me to be jealous? Tru said, neither. I'm surprised that you're not jealous. Or are you just putting up a good front? Big Wood said, what you see is what you get. I'm good, little mama. I'ma trust you until you give me a reason not to. Tru said, until or if. Big Wood said, tomato, tomato. Thus far, you've kept me in the loop. You've told me what I needed to know. You've honored every agreement that we've made. I have no reason to doubt that you can handle yourself. And as long as you know what to do and who to call, if that nigga get out of line, I'm going to support what you got going on and keep you in my prayers. Tru said, and if I have sex with him? Big Wood said, are you going to have sex with him? Tru said, I'm not planning on it. I'm simply saying if it comes to that. Big Wood said, why would it come to that? This is your show. You in control. If you control what you're supposed to control, then you won't be in a situation where it comes to that. Tru said, if I feel like it's necessary in order to get the information that I need, or to gain a deeper level of his trust, or to gain more access, then I'm going to do that. Big Wood said, thanks for letting me know. Tru said, I'm asking if you're okay with that. Big Wood said, of course I'm not. But my job is not to control you. It's to support what you got going on and keep you in my prayers. Tru said, yeah, nah, you can't be that mature, 'cause I'm not. Big Wood said, if I gotta take a shorty down in order to put myself in position to do my job, You can't have a problem with that. Tru said, the hell I can't. I wish you would lay pipe on another bra. Big Wood said, what's good for the goose? Tru said, it's not good for the damn gander. As Big Wood pulled up to DFW departures, he said, this is your show, lil' mama. Manage it so you ain't gotta sleep with him. And then we can finish this conversation when you get back. Tru said, I don't know how this is gonna work. Big Wood said, we communicate and make it work. Then he grabbed Tru's face, pulled her lips to his, and gave her a slow, seductive kiss behind the cover of the tinted windows. When they were done, he hopped out of the truck, popped the trunk, and pulled Tru's bags out, opened the passenger side door, helped her down out of the truck, handed her her bags, and watched her walk into the airport, while thinking to himself, oh, mama, please don't test my gangster. Don't get that nigga knocked off prematurely. I'm cool till I'm not, and I ain't that damn cool. And as Tru walked away, she thought to herself, now when exactly did I go from you could do whatever you want to that's my D? This is getting a little too damn serious. Just picturing him with another woman got my blood boiling. When she arrived in Venezuela, Lil Jose was waiting for her at the airport with a driver. He took her back to the posh hotel where she checked in, and then just like the last time, he took her to get a bite to eat and then blew a bag. But this time when they were done, he didn't return her back to the hotel. Lil Jose said, I need to make some runs. I need you to ride with me. In an effort to show off and impress her, he took her along as he made several stops to conduct business. And at several of those stops, Tru tagged along. And when the opportunities presented themselves, she placed bugs at warehouses, businesses, and homes. She even planted a bug in his father's office. The big prize. From Friday to Monday, Lil Jose fed, entertained, got to know, and wooed Tru. And by the final day, he was darn near begging for a whiff of what Tru was keeping under wraps. Tru said, how about this? Next time, you come and visit me. Let me show you my city. Introduce you to my friends. Show you a good time on my turf. And if all goes well, then we can revisit this conversation. Tru cozied up to Lil Jose and reached up, pulled his head down to her, and gave him a soft, slow, shy kiss that left his head swimming and his manhood wanting. Then she headed to the door of his house and said, but I need to head back to the hotel now. My flight leaves in a few hours, and I need to figure out how I'm going to get all of this stuff in my suitcase. Not long after Tru returned to Dallas, Salima and her surveillance team hit pay dirt. One of the bugs picked up a conversation between Big Jose, Lil Jose, and the Colombian, Santiago Morena. The conversation where Big Jose admitted to Santiago that he'd been a double agent, providing Manny with information on the work that he was doing for the Morenas. And that was the reason why the negotiations between the Morenas and the four families were stalled. And it was the reason why the families seemed to be one step ahead of most of the Morenas' plans. But Big Jose informed Santiago that he hadn't been completely honest with Manny in his reports. He'd left some things out and claimed that he didn't know about them. And that's why he couldn't give Manny a heads up. Santiago hadn't even suspected that Big Jose was playing both sides, because the families weren't successfully predicting and interrupting every move that the Morenas were making. Santiago hadn't been sure if he had a mole, if there were bugs, or if Big Jose or someone in his organization was leaking the information. When he found out the circumstances that caused Big Jose to be a turncoat, Santiago refused to cut Big Jose loose. He said, no problem, amigo. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna give me collateral, and I'm gonna hold on to it until all of this is worked out. And you're gonna continue giving the families information. You're only gonna give them the information that I tell you to give them. And you're gonna report back to me how they respond, what they say, and anything they tell you that they're going to do. And if this deal falls through, I'll keep or kill your collateral. When Big Jose asked what the collateral needed to be, Santiago said, "Put your son on the phone." And when Lil Jose got on the phone, Santiago said, "So, I understand. You've fallen for an American. She's a beautiful girl. You're so smitten with her, you've already introduced her to your papi." Lil Jose went pale. Santiago said, "Get her to visit you again, and this time, deliver her into the hands of my men." When Lil Jose called Tru, trying to convince her to visit him in Venezuela again, Tru said, "I thought we had an agreement that you would come and visit me first before I came back to Venezuela again." Lil Jose had no idea that even before the bugs picked up the conversation between him, his father, and Santiago, Selima, Donovan, Tru, and Rennie had already devised a plan to get Lil Jose to the States and then hold him hostage.